2024 dating and life wrap. Let's freaking go, baby. Welcome to the Gen Z podcast. This is my favorite episode. I live for this. I collect data all year long and mostly just for dating, and I just laugh about it. But life wrapped is crazy too. Life this year was crazy. I have a lot of tea, piping hot tea, but quite honestly, I've debated about like how I should talk about what's happened to me this year. And I obviously, in classic Jenn fashion, would love to do it. I'd love to do it in like a comedy special. So I'm kind of waiting for that to like spill the tea. But let's get into dating wrap. So I posted on Instagram. I did a PowerPoint presentation. It's my favorite time of year. So dating was interesting. 2023, my goal was to have fun dating experiences. I feel like I complained most of 2023 about dating. And then I did my PowerPoint at the end of the year and I was like, you did have fun dating experiences. Hello? So I feel like you should always do a PowerPoint because it really puts things into perspective. So my goal at the end of the year was to find a boyfriend. That did not happen. And that's okay. It was not the year for that. I did not know how much, I would like to say trauma, but it's not trauma. It's more of, I had to shed so much more of myself and going through like a deeply transformative period of my life. It just wasn't the time. And honestly, like I could say my goal is 2025 is to have a boyfriend because ultimately my goal, I want to get remarried. I want to be intentional in my dating. I want to get a boyfriend. I want to get remarried. I'm even open to having another baby. So of course that's my intention. But 2025, I'm just taking the pressure off. I'm literally going to pour into myself. I am going to live my best freaking life and cultivate a beautiful life without having this pressure, and it'll just come. I will not be on any dating apps. I was so proud of myself this year. I only was probably on a dating app for 2 months of the year, and I dated one guy. Like I went on one date from it. And I'm so proud that out of, I think, 13 first dates, and we'll make a joke, I ended up making out with 15 guys, and I genuinely don't think like half of them, the majority of them I went on dates with. We'll explain that. But out of all that jumbled mess, I literally met one guy from a dating app. I'm really proud of that. I think organic connection is where it needs to be. We need to focus, like ladies, we need to find our husbands organically. Like I genuinely don't think dating apps work. I mean, I know it's very rare, but it does work. But I genuinely don't think it's for dating. Anyways, let's get into it. Let me just throw a little joke out. 2024 was a shit show. It was a literal violent fever dream for me. And the cherry on top is, not only was 2024 an absolute shit show, but literally a week before Christmas, you can't even make this shit up, my neighbor's grandson tried to kill her and himself, and then she ran over with a machete and barricaded herself in my home with the weapon and covered in blood while my 17-year-old babysitter was home and my 2 kids while I was working. So that's how we ended 2024. How did you guys end your 2024? Okay. We'll get into it. Let's start with dating wrapped. So I stand on business, okay? I will die on this hill. The week from Christmas to New Year's is the most magical week. I don't make the rules, but I'm telling you, every year I have met someone so cool and so special in that week. And it's crazy because I feel like most people are celebrating with their families. Like most people are out of town. I don't know. I don't make the rules, but that is facts. So the week from Christmas to New Year's is just straight up magical. You need to get out on the streets. You need to get out because I've met someone cool every single year. So 2023, that week gap, I ended up meeting a guy. We called him Hail Mary on the dating wrap last year. It was a last minute Hail Mary. I was at a country bar, which I've decided I have to stop going to the country bar. They're too young there. They're too young. But I was at a country bar and I had ran into a guy that I went on a date with, and I kind of said hi and he like acted too cool for me. And it was like one of those things where you just kind of feel stupid. And I was like, ew, gross. So I ended up meeting this really cute guy and we're talking the whole night. They all, like the group of people we were with, like including him, we start walking over to the bar to get another drink. And I see the guy that like kind of acted too cool for me. And I look over to this guy that I just met and I was like, I know this is random. Can you just do me a favor and act like you're all over me? As we walk past the bar, this particular portion of the bar. And he like looks at me and he goes, is he looking? And I was like, I don't know. And he grabs my face and he gives me like the most passionate makeout. It was so fun. And here's the thing about me, like I am a lover girl to my core. I love rom-coms. I love romance books. So to me, like to have like a fun like rom-com moment was like so perfect. And I will tell you that the two boys that I dated this year, the two boys I dated in 2024, both had those components of a just romantic rom-com situation. And I met both of them in the wild. So I'm just convinced, like, pour into yourself, do your own thing, it will come. And every single time it has come in the most fun way, the two guys that I dated. But anyways, so I joked and I said, oh, it was a last minute Hail Mary. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. I went on a date with him January 1st. We totally dated. It was amazing. We dated for about like 5 weeks until we kind of decided like, we were kind of just in different phases. Like he was starting his career and I was more intentionally dating at that particular time before shit hit the fan this year. But so I was kind of looking for more serious and he wasn't. So we ended up parting ways. I genuinely think he was a really good guy. He was not American. So he's the guy that told me that my podcast was boring as fuck. Literally. But genuinely, he was a good guy. I just think culturally there was some differences. I think normal, like a normal American is a little bit of a people pleaser. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but I'm just saying like that's typically like we're a little bit more like walk on eggshells. We're not really offensive. So for him, he was just like, I listened to your podcast and it was boring as fuck. Like, hello. I mean, he complimented me too. So it was like 0 stars, 5 stars. Like, what kind of review is that? Because he basically wrote me a text that said, your podcast is boring as fuck, period. And then complimented me like, 2, you were funny, you were well spoken, like blah, 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 blah. And I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with that? Is that a 0 review, 0 stars, 5 stars? Like, what kind of review is that? Anyways, I genuinely think he meant well. He truly did. I know who he, like the kind of person he was. He's just straight up so blunt. So honestly, I was kind of bummed. Well, I was really bummed actually when we broke up. But thinking about it, like, could you imagine if that dude was mad at me? Like, I'm too sensitive for that. Like, I'm too sensitive. Because when he texted me that, I cried. Like, when I got it, I woke up in the morning and I cried. And then I was like, then I laughed hysterically for days. I was like, that's the funniest shit I've ever heard in my entire life. Like, that's the most wild text to get. So then I was like, yeah, I'm going to make hats. I'm going to make my whole podcast about it. I'm going to put that as the tagline, you know? So when I introduce like my podcast to people, I'm like, like, listen if you want, but it's like boring as fuck for sure, for sure. So dated him, and then some stuff happened earlier in the year with my ex that I can't get rid of. And I've thought a lot about how I want to share, because look, yo girl, I made the best of it. It was actually not cool at all. Details do matter, but they don't. And I made the best of it. I can find humor in it. And truly, 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 I'd like to say that I'm working on forgiveness. I would say the last month I've had a turnaround, and I've, you know, listen, when people do you wrong, I've gone through the stages of like grief and anger, and I'd love to share. I'd love to shit on it. But at the end of the day, what I realized is that's poison. It's poison to me. It's poison to you if you carry it. What good does it do? What good does it do? So when it all is settled and it's all good and it's funny, it's really funny, but it's a little too fresh still, so I'm gonna do a comedy special literally eventually. I'm gonna do an open mic night and I will just share the tea of what happened to me this year. But it's funny, but it's also not funny. And I think for the first couple months I was in like a fight or flight situation where I was just trying to, I think I was compartmentalizing. If you would have told me on New Year's Eve, like calling in 2024, the things that I would have to go through and the situations that I would be put in, I would laugh my ass off. I would laugh my ass off. You can't even make this shit up of what I went through. Like, I will shock you to your core. You will be shooketh. You'll be shooketh when I share to you, but it's not the right time. I have people to protect. There's no good that's going to come from it right now. I'm deeply working on healing. I want to move forward with forgiveness. Because at the end of the day, it's poison to me and I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want it. And so I will say the first couple of months I was in fight or flight. And then when the dust settled and I realized that I was going to be okay, I went into a deep depression. And so I will say that this year has been really difficult on my mental health. And I wanted to do a bunch of solo episodes this year. I wanted to talk about it. But I've been like, oh, I need to bring the medicine back. Like, I need to talk about the medicine. Like, hey guys, this is what I went through. This is how I got better. And the reality is, I don't have the medicine. I have very much spent the entire of 2024 in this unknown void with a shit ton of grief. Like, and I've been waiting and I'm like, I want to talk about it, but like, how can I talk about it? I'm in the thick of it. I have no answers. Like, I'm just legitimately in the thick of it. And I talked to a lot of people and they were like, why can't you just share that? So my mental health has struggled so much this year. I did a lot of EMDR, which is like an eye processing movement. That was cool. I think it helped. But it was very much ebbs and flows. I'm in a much better place, like as I end the year, which I'm incredibly grateful for. But I would say I spent the majority of 2024 like dealing with my mental health, like depression, loneliness, grief. And it's been really funny because I want to be authentic. I really, really want to be authentic. And a lot of people are like, oh, you're out living your best life. And I'm like, heavy emphasis on I'm trying to live my best life. Like, I have been put in a position where my life has drastically changed from 3 years ago. I would say even 5 years ago. 5 years ago, my life started to drastically change. And what I envisioned for my future is 100% either taken from me, like, because it wasn't right, or just deeply transformative shifts. And I don't know any other way than to make the best of what I've been given. Like, I've been trying to live my best life, but I will tell you, yeah, I'm traveling, I'm doing all these fun things, I'm going to concerts, but I've been doing it for the majority of this year with a broken heart. And the duality can exist, but that's legitimately like when you see somebody, because social media is a highlight reel, like when you see someone out there, like I've been traveling, I've been having fun with my girlfriends, and I've been going to concerts and doing all these things and traveling as much as I can. Shout out to sitting on more planes than men this year. But I've been doing that. But I very much have been doing it with a broken heart. And so, yeah, I'm like living my best life-ish. I'm trying. But the duality is very much there. And I feel like I carried grief with me in my back pocket for the entire 2024. So one day I will talk about what I went through. But for now, it just doesn't, there's no good. Like, it poisons me. And I'm really trying to move forward with forgiveness. And yeah. So in knowing that, I was dealing with a lot of ish, I would say from about April to September, October. Like, damn, so hard. So I had to pivot. I quickly realized that my intention for 2024 of like getting a boyfriend and intentionally dating was not going to happen. I was open to being surprised, but I realized like I had a lot of healing to do and a lot of grief. Like, and I don't necessarily want to bring someone into that when I'm dealing with that. I know that you're never fully healed. I know you're never fully healed, but I just realized I quickly realized I was very emotionally unavailable. So in doing so, I was like, well, what's a girl got to do? I guess I should just make out with a guy a month. That was the goal. I surpassed it. But like, I just was like, you know what? I just need to go and try to have as much fun as I can. Even though I was deeply hurt, I just needed to go have fun. So I freaking pivoted. I made out with a bunch of randos. That was fun. And then I met a guy on an airplane in October for ACL, Austin City Limits, and that came out of nowhere, and I literally had no intention. Anyways, met him on an airplane, sat with him, talked to him for the full 2 hours. And then by the time we were waiting for our Uber, like we were making out. And I was like, what? Like, what? And then we hung out all weekend, and I ended up dating him long distance for probably like 6 weeks. I was really bummed when it ended, but timing's off for us. And so I was really bummed. But I'm super, super, super grateful for that opportunity because it was by far the best dating experience I have had post-divorce. And that says like that, yeah. And I will say, this man was over a decade younger than me. And I know that I like younger guys. That's a little bit young for me. But again, best experience. Please explain to me how a man over 10 years younger than me treated me the best. I've had 40-year-olds ghost me. I've had 40-year-olds not even be able to communicate. I've had 30+ year olds like can't even plan like properly or communicate. Like, it legitimately doesn't matter. It does not matter. I think for me in this particular situation, dating younger works because I still am open to having babies. Like, I think the age gap with women and men, it doesn't work if you don't want any more kids. Like, unless you find a guy that doesn't want kids. But for now, like, it worked. That's a little bit too young for me. I'm trying to be a reformed cougar in 2025, but at the same time, I'm trying to just take it case by case basis. And that particular person was extremely mature, small town boy, raised by his grandparents, like just incredible person. And I never had to guess intentions, and it was amazing. It was the best experience. Gave me a breath of fresh air. So I will always sing his praises. Like, I didn't love how it ended, but I will always sing his praises because he treated me so, so good and so kind. So that was fun. And both those experiences with the Hail Mary and the airplane guy, like rom-com romance, like literally making out at the Uber after baggage claim, like making out in a bar, like it just was really fun. And I'm so grateful for that experience. Let's do worst and best dates. So best date I went on is Airplane Boy. He came to visit me one weekend. We were dating long distance. We just had so much fun. Like, we went to the Hoover Dam. We went to a Golden Knights game, hockey. I love hockey. That was so much fun. I really, really had a blast with him. 2 worst dates of 2024. Are you ready? First one, I kind of made a joke on a podcast. I got flown out by a guy to go on a date in Austin. And I said yes because I love Austin and I feel like I live there like once a month. So I had backups. That's the only reason why I went. I think you go, if you're flown out by a dude and it does not go well, first of all, get your own hotel. Hello? Like, if you don't know them, get your own hotel. Like, I got my own hotel. But know your like environment. So if it goes bad, you have to prepare to have a solo trip. So make sure it's a city that you like and that you know and that you can like go off on your own and explore. So I got flown out by this guy, and I didn't know him. He also had a podcast, so we were interested in collabing potentially. But anyways, it was like a flirtatious thing. He sent me out, but I just said, hey, listen, I'm going to get my own hotel. I'm not like that. So I'm not a girl that you fly out and have expectations for. Like, I will come out and I will go on a date with you and I'm interested in you, but I'm not going to like sleep with you like this particular weekend. Not that I'm opposed to it eventually, but like, I'm not going to do that. So, but I didn't realize the city that he was in was like an hour and 15 minutes outside of Austin. So I just said, like, send me the closest hotel to your place and like I'll go. Anyways, he sends it to me. I just book it, whatever. It goes so bad. And it was funny. Someone asked me, like, what went bad about it? We were just genuinely so unaligned. And you know what's funny? I'm realizing that I have my guard up a lot. And not always, but I have my guard up a lot. And he even said, like, you're guarded. I've had a couple people say you're guarded. And I find it really funny because I was guarded. And I think it was my body being like, this guy's not a good guy. Like, this guy's not a good guy. And every time I have been guarded, they're not a good guy. And when I'm at ease, it's like my body, and I have felt very at ease with quite a few guys this year. And I'm so grateful for that. But just put me naturally at ease and like, I don't know. So our energies just wasn't aligned. Like, we were just not getting along. Like, it was the weirdest, most bizarre energy ever. And I think the final straw was like the next day, like I just was like, I'll call you when I wake up, come pick me up, we'll go work out. We went and worked out at this weird shed gym that was like 1,000 degrees in Texas. And I was like, I hated it. And I think he was stressed because I hated it. But I'm not a freaking princess. Like, I did it. I just was very uncomfortable and it wasn't fun. But when he was like going to take me back to the hotel to like shower and change. And I was like, it's like 1:30. Like, what else are we going to do? I know there's like a football game at 6:30, but like, what do you want to do? And he goes, your energy is stressing me out. And I was like, never once have I heard that my energy is stressing someone out. Like, I have good energy. I can confidently say that I have good energy. So the fact that this guy said my energy was stressing him out, I was like, I'm like fun. I'm easygoing. Like, what are you talking about? So I was like dying laughing. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, it's like you can't like sit still and like just chill. I'm like, dude, I'm out of town. Like, what do you mean? Like, let's go explore. And he's like, it's Saturday. I'm like, it's Saturday for you, bro. If it was Saturday at my house, sure, of course. I'm doing chores. I'm doing laundry. Like, hello? So I was like, okay. He's like, I told you we were going to do stuff on Sunday. And I was like, so he drove me back to my hotel and literally was like, I think we need space. And I was like, yeah, I think we do too. And then I realized, holy shit, it's an hour and 30 minutes. What am I going to do? So I call my guy friend, Spencer, who I adore, who lets me stay at his house in Austin when I come visit. I called him. I was crying. I was like, don't judge me. Don't judge me. I made a mistake. I did something. I flew out for a guy. I told no one. I'm here stuck an hour and a half away from Austin. Please. He's like, I'll pick you up. And then I stayed at his house, and poor Spencer, because he was such a good dude and a good Samaritan. And now I'm like, yo, your guest room is my guest room now. Like, I got to experience that. It's all good. So Spencer took me to like his bougie gym, and his fridge has Fiji stocked, like protein drinks. Like, I went from this weird ass date to like this bougie house. And I was like, I'm home. I'm home. Mommy's home. I'm okay. I'm taken care of. So that was one of my worst dates of 2024. My second worst date, and I'm just going to say, was actually recently. I met this guy out in the wild. Seemed great. He asked me on a date. So I did tell him, I said, before the date, I said, hey, listen, I'm a MILF. I have 2 children. I don't post them online very often because the internet freaks me out. But I was like, if that's a deal breaker for you, like, totally cool. I just wanted to give you a heads up just in case. And he's like, totally cool, like totally fine. Literally giving this man if there are any deal breakers, like, this would be the time. Like, I gave him the opening. So we get on this date and we go to arcade, super fun. And then we go get ice cream and we're sitting at ice cream. And by the grace of God, I have this like download to say monogamy. Like, why would I say monogamy? Like, it just like came to me and I like straight up said it. And I was like, it was weird because it was like out of nowhere. And he goes, oh yeah, funny you say that. Like, I'm actually polyamorous. And I'm like, huh? He's like, yeah, I'm polyamorous. Like, I live with my girlfriend of 4 years and like, I just bring women in like as like a throuple. And I'm like, so I was really blindsided on the date. So I literally I was so kind. I was so like, I handled it with grace. I was like, well, that's not going to work. Like, but I'm on this date. So like, tell me about your girlfriend. Like, what? I'm like, tell me about your girlfriend. I'm like, do you have a picture? Like, at this point, I'm like, what the hell, you know? And then at the end of the date, like, he walks me out and he's like, so can I kiss you? And I was like, no, you have a girlfriend that you live with. What? So I went to bed and I was like, wow. And I took some time to process that. And I was like, I like woke up and I chose violence. I was like, that mother effer wasted my freaking time around Christmas too. It's like my busiest time. I was like, dude, that is something that you say before date one. If you are literally in a polyamorous relationship, bro, you need to tell the girl before day one. That's a deal breaker for most, like, or some, but it's a deal breaker. And I gave that guy every opportunity to share a deal breaker. So I was pissed. So I did text him in the morning. I was like, listen, we run in the same crowds. Like, we have similar friends. Like, that's disrespectful as fuck. Like, you don't do that. You don't do that. So that was a wild date I went on this year, but worst and best. I would say in general, I'm really happy and grateful for good dating experiences. I had the two guys I dated were good dudes. I'm sad that it, didn't work out with them, but like, I learned a lot from them. And especially the airplane guy, this last guy that I dated, such a breath of fresh air. Like, there are good men out there. I didn't have to guess his intentions, like everything good. So like, yeah, I pulled a Kristen Cavallari this year. A little bit older than the Kristen Cavallari's boyfriend, but I pulled it, and it was actually the best dating experience I had. So I don't know. I'm a big fan of the younger men. I don't know. 2024 was so difficult because of some of the stuff I was dealing with, some of the trauma, but I will say that it was such a year full of growth for me. In 2023, I had this distinct feeling that I needed to be in Austin, Texas. It literally made no sense. If you would have talked to me a year or two ago and said like you'd be a Texas girly, I would literally laugh in your face. Like, what? I don't even listen to country music. I love the aesthetic. I love a good cowgirl boot, but no. So I get this feeling, this deep feeling in 2023, like late 2023, that I need to be in Austin, Texas. I don't know a single person in Austin, Texas. That makes no sense. But I will go where I am guided to go, even if it doesn't make sense. One thing about me is like, I think with my heart and not my mind, even though I'm stuck here a lot, but I will always go with my heart and my feelings more than logic. So it didn't make any sense, but I was like, I'm supposed to be in Austin, Texas, so let's go to Austin, Texas. So I would say the first 2 months, so I went every month when I didn't have my kids. I would say like the first 2 months I cried. I knew no one. It was so uncomfortable. But I also was like, you need to be uncomfortable. Like, you need to figure this out. So I got Airbnbs. I met a lot of girls through Bumble BFF. I swear to you guys, like, the dating apps suck, but the BFF to find friends is like chef's kiss. I found the most fun, the coolest girls on Bumble BFF. So I don't know. And so I started making friends that way. I joined running clubs. And the thing about Austin, Texas people that I just adore, I could literally just go up to them and be like, I'm new, I don't know anyone, like, I need a friend. And they are so friendly and they're so nice. I don't think I could do that in Vegas. But everywhere I went, I was just super open and vulnerable. And like, I just feel like I'm supposed to be in Texas. There's something in Texas for me. Like, I'm here. So I ended up meeting friends, and then I started building my podcast out there. And Austin is just like an incredible place for creatives. I feel like I love being around creative people because they're always trying to hustle. They're always trying to build something, and they'll never, ever, ever shit on your dreams. If you surround yourself with people that are creatives, they're never gonna shit on your dreams. They know the grind, they know the hustle, they know the cringiness of building something and posting it. And it doesn't work until it works. And the only way for it to work is to grind and to be consistent. And so I built my podcast a lot out there, and I loved it. So I just kept going. And like, my goal for Austin, there was a point in 2024 that I wanted to move there full time, and I was making plays to try to do that. But in reality, I feel like I was so desperate to get out of there because of the trauma and the things that I was having to deal with in Vegas. It wasn't me traveling to Austin to get away from that, but it was me trying to move to Austin full time to escape the horrible things that were happening to me at home. And I just realized, like, you know what? This feels like I'm forcing and not flowing. And so I don't know what Austin holds for me in the future. At the time in 2024, I was trying to move there. I was going to do hair there and build my podcast. I was going to live there for 2 weeks straight, and I was going to live in Vegas for 2 weeks straight. And I just don't know. It's definitely an option. I think my goal for 2025 with Austin is I'm going to keep going. Now I have amazing friends that I stay with. I adore the people in Austin, Texas. I love Austin with all my heart. I think it's just to put the pressure off of it. I want to own a property there. I want to get an Airbnb. I want to decorate it really cute for like bachelorettes. And then I want to stay there when I come. Ultimately, I could see myself moving full time there eventually. But I'm also just open to where I'm supposed to be. Right now, Austin feels good, but not full time. It's just still visiting, still doing all that. I'm kind of open to wherever like my person is. If they live in a different state, then I would make moves to do it there. But I can do hair anywhere. I can do my podcast anywhere, and I'm just open. So right now I'm just traveling and I'm just loving it. And it has a piece of my heart right now. And in years prior, Santa Barbara was a place that I went multiple times a year, almost every year. I would say every 3 months I was going to Santa Barbara. It held a piece of my heart there. And then Austin came, and Austin holds a piece of my heart. So I would say my biggest growth is going to a city that I felt called to go to, but not knowing anybody, and literally like making it work, making friends. I grew so much doing that. I had a download the other day as I was like thinking just about how hard this year has been. And it's so funny. I grew up Mormon. I got married as a child. I literally went from my parents' house to getting married. I feel like my 20s was stolen from me a little bit. I didn't have an opportunity to live on my own. I didn't have an opportunity to be connected to my body. There's just a lot of layers to that. Like talk a little bit about religious trauma. Like I don't feel like as a woman you fully come into yourself until you're like you're 30. You're confident in who you are, like you've got it figured out, like you've gone through a lot. And it's really hard to do that when you get married as a child and then you are forced to wear these garments that I wore. I wasn't connected to my body, and I didn't even have self-esteem and like loved my body. And then I go and cover it with these things that I don't want to cover myself with. That was a real big struggle for me. And so I would say that the last 3 years has been the hardest years of my life. But I had a download the other day that I have been given an opportunity to relive what I would have experienced in my 20s. And I'm not talking like I want to go out and be sloppy and party and do shit like that. I'm not talking about that. When I don't have my kids, I have a week to myself where, as hard as it is to be away from them, I live alone. I get to grocery shop. I get to sit in silence. I get to know who I am. I get a chance to live in my 20s that I never got to. I'm dating. So as hard as it's been, and of course I want my person. Of course, that's my goal. I've been lonely for the most of this year. Of course I want my person. But damn, how sacred and special is this that I've been given this? It's a gift. I literally have thought about how being single has been so terrible and blah, 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 blah. And then I'm like, holy shit, this is a gift. You have a gift that you have been given. You are living the years that you lost. And you're living it in a time where you are 100% authentic in who you are. And how beautiful is that? Because most people in their 20s that live like that, they're still figuring their shit out. I'm experiencing things for the first time, in my 20s, but as a whole person. Like, I don't play games. I don't need to play games. Like, I know who I am. I know what I bring to the table. What a sacred stage that is. And so I'm really grateful that that's kind of clicked this year, is like, no, girlfriend, this is a gift. Like, you've experienced a gift. Being single is a gift. It is the stage. Like, it is probably, I would say, the most important stage. So I did travel for 2024. I traveled to Austin almost once a month. I went to New York in August. I ended up interviewing one of my favorite interviews, Benny from New York. He was such a gem for even accepting someone like me, like just starting out. So I'm super grateful for that. And that was so fun. I went to California. I think that's about it for this year. I was in Austin almost every month. So that was kind of my travel, but we did a little sprinkle in California. We did a little New York. 2025 travel goals. I am going to New York in 3 weeks. I'm going to go back for my birthday. I'm going to go with my girlfriend, Candace. We're going to do things that, I haven't done. She's never been to New York, but I'm trying to do things that like I haven't done. We're actually going to go see the Book of Mormon play, which I think will be really healing for both of us because we're no longer part of that religion. And I think like there's no other person I would want to see that play with than her. And then going back to Austin, I don't know if Austin's going to be every month. I felt really called last year to go every month. I think it's just going to go when I feel aligned. But definitely I'll probably go in February and then we'll just see what happens. Definitely going to take the kids to California for the beach, either like spring break or summer. And then I'm absolutely going back to New York for Christmas and I'm going to take the kids. It's been my lifelong goal. I'm saving up all my money. I'm saving all my airline points and we're going to freaking New York. The hardest year of my life. I have met the most broken version of myself, but I've also met the most resilient, and I made it out. I don't know if everything makes sense and I am like on the other side of it, but I have gotten to a point where I have realized that hate and anger and wanting someone else to suffer because they did me wrong and they did me so dirty is like, it's not cool. It poisons me. I don't want to carry it. I don't care anymore. And I'm so grateful for that shift. And I'm hoping that, continues with me in 2025. There's this incredible podcast that I listen to, and it's almost like a meditation at night. And her name's Sarah Blondin, and it's called Live Awake. And she had the most profound thoughts on a particular episode, and I wanted to share it with you guys. It's called When We Must Endure. It's a podcast. It's like 15 minutes long. But going back to doing things with a broken heart, like I've been doing things with a broken heart the majority of this year. And that's something about the human experience, that the duality can exist. I can have fun and be light and playful, but I can also carry grief. And that's what I realized. I did the majority of things with a broken heart this year. And that's okay. I've learned to give myself grace and that realizing that duality exists. But When We Must Endure by Sarah Blondin, she talks about the time-consuming process of transformation and how it's not an easy place. And it's a place of great shift and change and transformation. It's a rebirth. And I love her perspective on it. She said, usually this only happens a couple times if you are lucky to experience it. She says, there is glory here in this stage, squinting your eyes in the sun, bracing yourself against the wind, tethered between two branches. You are being transformed. If you listen closely, you will hear your soul is actually singing. How beautiful your soul's call is for growth. Sometimes we must endure to be born into more wholeness. There are times in our lives we must wait out the great storms of the unknown, traverse through unfamiliar landscape, wait in quiet submission and surrender. A major part of the learning is in the waiting. We must withstand the process of discovery and unfolding. And that is the stage that I've been in this year. I am in the waiting room. I am learning, I'm growing, but I'm very much waiting and becoming. I'm in the process of becoming. And that has been the most painful, hardest thing I've ever had to go through. I've only had one other situation in my life where it was the most devastating, most incredible transformation that I've had, and it literally catapulted me into my new timeline. So like, I know that what I'm going through is going to propel me forward, and it's going to be the greatest thing I've ever gone through. I know that. It's just, people need to know. I mean, people don't talk about how shitty it is sitting in your shit, waiting for the transformation to be complete. So I don't have the medicine. I don't have the medicine other than I've been going through it. My mental health has struggled. If you are going through it, I know you are not alone. And I'm incredibly grateful for those friends who have stood by me, who will listen to me, who can check in with my energy, who know that I'm not okay. I love you. I love you. I love you. And to wrap up this year, so when you thought that this couldn't get worse, it got worse. So the week before Christmas, I was doing hair, busiest week of my life. It's called Hell Week. Craziest week. Earlier in that day, I got a call where my client came in. She wasn't okay. I could tell she was probably having a panic attack, but she's never acted this way. She was really shaky. She's like, I think I need to call 911. I think I'm having a heart attack. I'm like, I think you're having a panic attack, but like, whatever you want to do, I'll just do your hair until you make the call. She's like, I got to call 911. She's like, will you sit with me in the ambulance? Say less, sis. What? I was like, for sure my husband's going to be literally in the ambulance. Turns out they were married. 0 husbands for me. It's fine. I was like, it's cool. That was just fun. That was funsies. I don't know what the lesson is here, but that just happened. Whatever. She's fine. We're giggling. I finish her hair. 7 p.m. that night, my last client, I literally am saying bye to her, and I get a frantic call from my babysitter. My babysitter is 17 years old. She's my hero. She is an angel. She's like, someone's banging on your door, and I'm really freaked out. And I just go, I look at my Ring camera, and I'm like, oh, it's my neighbor. Like, let her in. Not realizing she's covered in blood, and she has a straight up machete. So anyways, my babysitter let her in. Kids are screaming, freaking out. I call 911 from someone's phone in my salon because I will not get off the phone with my babysitter. I am frightened. I mean, she's so sweet and elderly, but like, I don't know if I don't know what's going on and why she's carrying that. And like, is she going to hurt my kids? Like, is she going to go crazy? By the time I get there and my ex gets there, like, it is full on, like 35 police cars, ambulances. I don't get to see my kids for 3 hours, literally 3 hours. I'm sitting outside because everything's like a lockdown situation. Because apparently her family member tried to unalive, I don't know if I can say this. Apparently my neighbor, her family member tried to unalive her and him. And she came running over with the weapon and blood everywhere. And like was in my house. So finally, like, cops lock everything down. Ambulance takes her to the hospital. My kids are like on lockdown. I'm not allowed inside the house. Finally, they let us in 3 hours later. Cops are banging on our door and they're like, we have new information. We're locking down. 8 hours later, this homie gets taken out by SWAT. And when I say taken out, he walked out. Like, the robots came, they opened the door, they busted the door down. He had to come outside. He's alive. And there was an 8-hour standoff. And then, like, that was at like 3:30 in the morning. Dude, they have robot dogs. Did you know they have robot dogs? I should show camera footage. Like, that was insane. So 3 o'clock, he gets out. By the way, he's pantless. I was talking to another one of my friends that's a cop, and I'm like, why is everyone like a criminal? Like, they walk out with their junk out. Why? He had a shirt on. Why is your junk out? Why? Anyways, then he got taken out. Then like an hour later, like, we tried to go to bed. Because I mean, like, SWAT is like screaming outside, right? Until he comes out for like hours. Like, this is like you're not sleeping. And they had like explosives on his garage, and we're like this close to each other's houses. So I live in Las Vegas. We don't have yards. Like, what? So I'm like, they're going to blow this shit up, and like, it's going to be crazy. So by the time I try to go to bed after he gets taken, people are knocking on my door. They want my ring footage. Then some guy comes in an hour later and he's like, sorry, I really can't clean up the blood on your pavers. I'm like, all right, thanks. So I have to work at 8 in the morning. So I go to freaking work. I stayed up for 48 hours. Yeah, so I'm not really sure the lesson there. Not really sure the lesson. Didn't find my husband through the paramedics. Definitely didn't find my husband through SWAT. I don't really know why that happened to me, but my youngest is totally fine. Didn't phase him. My oldest is not okay. So we're in therapy. Anyways, I hope you guys had a better end to your year, but yeah, just like a quick, like, hostage situation, like murder, suicide, just, and I live in a nice neighborhood, you guys. I live in a nice neighborhood, but anyways, that was my 2024 dating life wrapped. 2025, my goal legitimately is I'm just pouring into myself. I'm taking all the pressure off. Like, I'm just pouring into myself. So, it's going to be a good year. Like, there's literally no other way. Like, 2025 is going to be such a freaking good year. So I love you all. Thank you so much for supporting me in the podcast. And I cannot wait to report back next year.